9.5 million Americans are in default on their student loans right now. $233 billion. That's not a warning about something coming. That's a record, the highest it has ever been.
And this month, 7.5 million more people started getting a letter in the mail. Inside that letter is a 90-day clock.
From Trek for Wealth, I'm Grant.
And I'm Avery. Today, the student loan reckoning, the record wave of defaults, the 90-day clock ticking right now, and a 35-year-old law that means this particular debt never dies.
We'll cover how big this wave really is, what happened the last time America had a default crisis, because we have absolutely been here before, and what Washington quietly built back then that can reach into a Social Security check today.
And then 5 concrete moves, whether you're current, behind, or already in default. Let's get into it.
So, the scale. The New York Fed tracks this every quarter. Roughly 1 million borrowers defaulted in the last 3 months of 2025. Then, another 2.6 million in the first 3 months of 2026. That's 3.6 million people in 6 months.
3.6 million in 6 months? That's like the entire city of Los Angeles defaulting between Halloween and Easter.
And those 2.6 million from the first quarter? Their loans were handed to something called the Default Resolution Group, which is exactly what it sounds like. But here's the number that made me sit up. The Education Department's own data out this month, 9.5 million borrowers in default. $233 billion. A record, nearly double what it was in March of last year.
So who are these 9.5 million people? Because I think the picture in most people's heads is a 24-year-old who just graduated.
That picture's wrong. The average borrower entering default right now is almost 39, with more defaults over 50 than ever. It's concentrated in the South. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina all have at least 1 in 10 borrowers in default. And here's what should stop everyone cold. Most of these people were not behind before the pandemic. These were the ones doing everything right.
Okay, and one more thing changed, right? Who's actually collecting?
Right. The Education Department has started handing its defaulted portfolio over to the Treasury Department. The same people who process your tax refund are taking operational control of collecting this debt. Hold that thought, because to understand why that matters, you need the history.
This is the "we've been here before" part.
We have. Rewind to the 1980s. Federal loan volume explodes. For-profit trade schools are booming. Some of them are genuinely training people, and some of them are basically machines for converting federal loan checks into worthless certificates. Borrowers default in waves. By 1990, more than half the cost of the entire guaranteed loan program was going to cover defaulted loans.
Half the program was just eating its own defaults?
More than half. The official default rate for the 1990 cohort peaked at 22.4%. So Congress finally moved. In 1990, they created a report card for schools, the cohort default rate. Too high for 3 years running? You lose access to federal aid entirely.
And that actually worked, right? Over 600 colleges got cut off, and the national default rate fell from 22% to 15% in just 2 years. A record default wave driven partly by for-profit schools, followed by a Washington crackdown. That sounds familiar.
It should. But the crackdown had a second half, and this is the part almost nobody remembers. April 9, 1991. The Higher Education Technical Amendments. Sounds boring. Buried inside it, Congress eliminated the statute of limitations on federal student loan collection. All of it. Lawsuits, tax refund seizures, wage garnishment. Before that law, the government had 6 years to come after you. After that law, it has forever. And they made it retroactive.
Wait, Retroactive? So debts that were already legally dead came back?
Came back to life. And I want to make that real with one man's story. James Lockhart. He borrowed for school between 1984 and 1989. Ordinary, guaranteed student loans, Reagan-era paperwork. Life went sideways, the loans went unpaid, and the years passed.
And then in 2002, James Lockhart is 65 years old and money just starts disappearing from his Social Security check. The government was garnishing his retirement benefits for student loans from the 80s on a fixed income.
He sued, said the old 10-year limit on that kind of collection should protect him. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. And in 2005, the court ruled against him, unanimously, 9-0, because of that 1991 law. The history of student loan default is really the history of a debt America decided could never die.
Okay, so that's the machine. Now, the whiplash of the last 5 years, because I think that's how we got 9.5 million people here, March 2020, the pandemic hits, and payments pause for everyone. 3.5 years of zero. Payments technically restart in October 2023, but there's a grace period, so missed payments don't get reported. Then SAVE, the most affordable plan ever built, gets tied up in the courts, and its borrowers get parked in limbo.
A limbo where interest quietly started running again in August of 2025. Defaults start hitting credit reports late last year. In January, the department pauses collections to sort out the mess. And now, this summer, collections are being prepped to restart, with Treasury holding the tools.
5 years of stop, start, stop, start. No wonder people lost track of their own loans.
Which brings us to what changed on July 1st. And I'll keep this tight because we walked the full plan-by-plan map in episode 34, the 1% window. Go back for that. Here's what's new since then. The clock is actually running now. SAVE is dead, ended by court order in March. Starting July 1st, servicers began mailing those 7.5 million SAVE borrowers a notice. Pick a new repayment plan within 90 days, or we pick for you.
And we pick for you means
The standard plan, or the new tiered standard. Fixed payments, 10 to 25 years depending on your balance. Plans that ignore your income entirely. For most SAVE borrowers, that's a much bigger monthly bill, chosen by default because they didn't open an envelope.
And one detail that surprised me, there is no single deadline. The notices go out in waves. Some borrowers won't even get theirs until 2027. Your 90 days starts when your letter lands. And the main income-driven option going forward is the new WRAP plan. Payments from $10 a month up to about 10% of your income. Still works for public service loan forgiveness, but with a longer 30-year forgiveness timeline.
Which is why you compare it against IBR in the loan simulator before you commit, and why the waves cut both ways. Some people have more time than they think, and some people's clocks are already at day 25.
Okay, so now the scary section, the slide. And it has mile markers, right? Day 1, you're delinquent. Around day 90, your servicer reports you to the credit bureaus and your score takes the first hit. And then day 270.
That's the cliff. You're in default. The whole balance can come due at once, and you lose access to the protective plans.
And the credit damage?
The New York Fed measured it. The average defaulted borrower's score fell 91 points, from 567 to 476. That's the difference between a bad rate on a car loan and no car loan, between an apartment application and a denial.
And then collections. What can they actually take?
Without ever suing you? up to 15% of your disposable pay garnished from your paycheck, your entire federal tax refund seized, and a slice of your Social Security check. Just ask James Lockhart. No judge, no expiration date. This is the machine 1991 built, waking back up.
So the loan you signed for at 18 can reach into the check you get at 70. It doesn't expire. It just waits.
It waits. Now, before the moves, the balanced view, because there are two honest sides here.
I'll take the accountability case because it's real. Taxpayers guarantee these loans, and only about 38% of borrowers are current and paying. The pause outlasted the emergency by years, and these were loans people willingly signed. If nobody collects, the deal under the whole system collapses, and future students pay for it.
And the affordability case is just as real. Most people defaulting right now weren't struggling before the pandemic. The system whiplashed them. 5 years of shifting rules, plans struck down in court, notices mailed in waves, 500,000 unprocessed applications. When millions of reliable payers all fail at once, that's not a character problem, that's a design problem. But both sides land in the same place. Your balance sheet doesn't care who's right. So, the moves.
Move number 1.
1. Log in to studentaid.gov today. Not when the letter comes, today. Know your servicer, your plan, your status, your balance. The single biggest predictor of default in this wave is people who simply lost track. 10 minutes fixes that.
2. If you're one of the 7.5 million coming off Save, choose a plan on purpose. Doing nothing is a choice, and it's usually the most expensive one. Run RAP against IBR in the loan simulator. And if you're chasing public service loan forgiveness, check which plan keeps your payments counting.
3. If you're already behind, the calendar is your friend until day 270. Before that line, almost everything is fixable. Income-driven plans, deferment, forbearance. An income-driven payment can be small, even $0, and it still counts as current.
Default is the one door that locks behind you. Which brings us to 4. If you're already in default, there's a path out, and it's better than it sounds. Rehabilitation. 9 on-time payments in 10 months, and the default notation comes off your credit report. Or consolidation, which is faster but leaves the scar. Either one beats waiting for Treasury's letter.
And 5, don't panic move. Do not refinance federal loans into private ones chasing a lower rate. You'd be trading away every protection we just talked about for a number. And think twice before consolidating, because new consolidation loans after July 1st can lock you out of the older, often cheaper legacy plans. Slow is smart here.
So, check your status, choose on purpose, respect day 270, use the exit ramp if you're in default, and don't trade protections for a rate.
Here's the close. 35 years ago, America had its first great default crisis, and Washington's answer was a collection machine with no off switch and no memory loss. One that reached into a retiree's Social Security check for loans older than some of you listening. That machine is switching back on right now. You can't outwait it. But you don't have to. Every protection in the system, the income-driven plans, the rehabilitation ramp, the 90-day window, works for the person who shows up early and chooses on purpose. Preparing without predicting. Always.
That's Trek for Wealth. Keep trekking.